And I found out that Joe Biden, President Biden's administration, sent $10.5 million down there specifically for flood warning alarm devices. And the device is supposedly only going to cost $1 million. They rejected it. They had town meetings, and the town meetings were just unbelievable castigations of Biden about how corrupt, and they weren't going to take his money from such a, fake president, all this nonsense.
Yeah.
And then they said, oh, but we better keep it because we can't have it sent to New Jersey. And the money disappeared. But the other comment or question I have for you, what do you think of suddenly we're hearing little bits about his swollen legs and his medical condition? Are they preparing us for an exit? Because he may be under pressure or in the early signs of some kind of dementia for this scoop in of Vance, and then it's going to be 12 years like Hitler of Vance?
Mm-hmm. I raised that very question on Monday here. Because this is the first time we've ever heard from his doctors that he's anything other than Superman, in fact, Ronnie Jackson back during his previous administration said, he's going to live for 200 years and he's never seen a healthier man in his life and all this kind of BS. So, but Drudge had been pounding on these pictures of his hands and his feet for several days, and I think that they figured that they really had to deal with it. There's a lot of people also suggesting that vascular insufficiency would not produce the extreme swelling that we're seeing. I don't know. I'm not a physician, but that people are suspecting that he's actually got something even worse going on, like heart failure or kidney disease.
Well, I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Can I add a small little comment? The original name of the word Trump meant dumbhead. I notice now it's been removed, the original, because I did this etymology about 2 or 3 years ago, and it meant dumbhead. It really did.
Well, that's what it means in German, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. So with regard to whether Trump is trying to prepare to exit, I'm guessing he's not trying to prepare to exit. He thinks he's indestructible. He thinks he's Wonder Man. He's going to be there forever. But, the people around him might be thinking like that. I think that J.D. Vance is thinking like that. I mean, that might have something to do with J.D. Vance going, flying out to Oklahoma or Montana, rather, to have that secret meeting with Rupert Murdoch on July 11th, I believe it was. So,
well,
I don't know.
The problem I have with Vance is he seems to use the Catholic Church because he's not really in line with that thinking as kind of the way Hitler did a lateral PR moment.
Yeah.
He seems to be getting that, people see it, they see the picture, they don't know that it's a very uncomfortable situation for the pontiff.
No, I get that. The other thing that I think is fascinating, I have worked in countries that are dictatorships and or near dictatorships, and lived in them for brief periods of time when I was working there back in the 80s when I was doing international relief work. And one of the things that I noticed is that in those countries where the leadership is opaque, where you have a dictatorship or an authoritarian leader, one of the main kind of social sports that people engage in is speculating about the fate and future of the leader, because that one person has so much control over their lives. And we're now starting to do that here in America. And it's, I'm sure most Americans don't realize that this is the way that people talk when they live in a dictatorship, is they start, everything is, what is going to happen with dear leader? Is dear leader sick? Is dear leader upset? Is dear leader going to, do this or that? And, but that's where we're at now, because Donald Trump has...
It's momentary catharsis. It's a kind of like a pill to get through the day.
Yeah. And it's because Donald Trump is halfway down the road of converting America from a democracy into an autocracy, into a dictatorship, and he wants to take it all the way, and he may well. I don't, we'll see.
You're going to crash the dollar so it's digital?
Well, he's already crashed the dollar. It's down 10% right now. In fact, I think it's down 11% now, compared to when he came into office, which means that all imported goods into the United States are 10 or 11% more expensive, and that's before you start talking about tariffs. This has a lot to do with why we're seeing so much inflation right now. I mean, inflation is up 2.9% over last year, which is pretty radical. So, yeah, I think so.